Abraham Lincoln, Bill Gates, J.K. Rowling, and Steven Spielberg. Guess what all those amazing people have in common? Besides being some of the most successful individuals in history, all of them are known introverts. The problem with society is that they have the worst misconceptions about introverts being antisocial and unfriendly. Meanwhile, extroverts are seen as the better or good counterparts of introverts. In reality, introverts are far from being disconnected from other people. As a matter of fact, they're better at establishing meaningful connections. Their qualities like being humble and a good listener are what would make them excellent leaders. Still don't believe it? Continue watching to know the hidden power of introverts that'll help them achieve great heights in life. Before we move on, a like would be awesome. Number 1. Introverts are driven by productivity. Introverts are thought to be not as motivated to succeed as socially driven people. Well, let's just say nothing could be farther from the truth. Introverts are in fact motivated people, but by different factors. Likewise, they measure their success through different metrics. Believe it or not, an introvert's brain is wired in a way that they feel more satisfaction from gaining productivity and high-quality work than recognition and career advancement. In other words, introverts are motivated by productivity and not ambition. Number 2. Introverts listen well. Active listening is one of the expertise of introverts, mainly because they're naturally thoughtful and observant. This ability to pay attention well is one attribute of a good leader. Great leaders don't just talk, they must also listen intently to their people. Introverts are the same. They pay attention to every word that's said by the other person. In doing so, they can understand and give meaningful insights in response. Moreover, introverts thrive on hearing others' perspectives because it allows them to learn. To them, listening is a key to learning, and learning is the key to growth, both as an individual and a leader. Number 3. Introverts forge more meaningful connections. Another frustrating misconception about introverts is that they're disconnected from other people. Rather than being unable to make personal connections, it's because they choose not to if those connections aren't deemed quality and productive. Introverts don't build connections just for the sake of it. They do it to create meaningful connections. Their priority is to learn about the people they meet, even if it means they only connect with a few. Introverts take time to open up to someone. The good thing is that once they do, the relationships forged are deep, which are both personally and professionally rewarding. Did you know that introverted people are often full of humility? And you know what? The most humble ones are some of the most successful people these days. More about this here. Number 4. Introverts are humble. Introverts are incredibly humble people. They don't take credit for someone else's idea and don't take criticisms to heart. Humility isn't a common quality in many leaders. Some might say it's a very rare attribute. But this is what elevated many introverts into the chain of authority. When you're humble, people tend to look up to you with respect. In turn, it makes managing people easier. It also makes introverts want to serve others irrespective of their status. This trait is what makes introverted individuals silently confident. It allows them to acknowledge their mistakes and accept their limitations. A humble person welcomes new ideas and suggestions without feeling threatened. Number 5. Introverts work well in solitude. Having time alone is an excellent way of reconnecting with oneself. It's why introverts have better self-awareness than extroverts. Evidently, being a leader requires working as a team. However, there are also going to be moments where you're alone in your office focusing on major tasks. And introverts are best at this. In fact, they're at their peak when they're by themselves. Working in isolation boosts their focus. As such, it increases the chances of coming up with revolutionary ideas. Nevertheless, the desire to work in solitude should not be mistaken with lacking people skills. Number 6. Introverts speak with purpose. Introverts are more comfortable with listening than speaking. Because of this, they make sure they choose their words wisely. So yes, they definitely talk. It's just that they aren't the type to speak just to make their own voice heard. When they do speak, it's after careful deliberation. Introverts speak only when they have something of value to say, so there's a good chance that when they open their mouths, it's going to be something impactful. As a result, it gives them a positive perception. After all their words are always well thought out and developed. Funnily enough, people will listen to introverts when they speak since it isn't a common occurrence. Introverted people tend to overanalyze things, and by things we mean everything. So how is this good for them? Find out next. Number 7. Introverts are good at managing uncertainties. Introverts are a master at analyzing situations over and over again. At first impression, it makes them too hesitant to be considered a good thing. However, this also means they don't end up reacting without careful consideration and choosing whatever plan first comes to mind. In addition, they tend to stick with a problem even after it doesn't work out at the first couple of tries, instead of scrapping and abandoning it. To be a good leader, you must be persistent and cautious. Introverts can work through the mistakes they've made to find a successful path. Number 8. Introverts make passionate leaders. As long as introverts channel their natural strengths, they have what it takes to be the best leaders. For starters, they aren't afraid of delegating tasks and projects to others because they're confident in their own achievements and abilities. In addition, they tend to think and act for the betterment of the team, not for themselves. Also, because they process information more slowly and thoughtfully, it allows them to learn more about their subordinates. Introverts then use what they've gathered to make their team more efficient and happier. Ultimately, this leads to greater productivity and better chances of success. Number 9. Introverts are natural analysts. Whereas extroverts love being in the spotlight so much that they have no qualms in stealing attention, introverts are absolutely content sitting back and watching things unfold. They're like the narrators, the ones who know everything as they see things objectively and look from different perspectives. As a result, introverts can weigh the pros and cons of any decision. Again, this aligns with their ability to manage uncertainties well. Introverts are quite fascinating people, aren't they? Introverted leaders effortlessly shine by themselves because they let their team shine in the first place. Let's discuss how such a trait of theirs makes them powerful. Number 10. Introverts do not crave the spotlight. Most, if not all, introverts do not desire the limelight or any significant amount of attention. They're humble people after all. And so they often let their employees take charge and get recognition in return. It's a one-of-a-kind trait that many people but introverts lack. Of course, they don't just sit back and do nothing as their employees run the show. Instead, introverts do the guiding part. Number 11. Introverts are incredibly observant. A cliched view of introverts is a quiet, reserved personality. Frankly speaking, there's no escaping this since introverts are truthfully less vocal than their extrovert counterparts. But what others don't know is that this side of introverts has an extremely beneficial effect, and this is the gift of observational skills. They notice things that go unnoticed by others because introverts are less involved in vocal interjections and are processing everything internally. Furthermore, they're better at reading a person's body language and facial expressions, which helps improve their interpersonal communication. Introverts don't stay quiet for nothing. It might seem like they aren't doing anything, but their minds are in overtime soaking up each detail. Number 12. Introverts aren't prone to boredom. Given their vivid imagination, desire for solitude, and high level of focus, it's not much of a surprise how introverts can stay unaffected by boredom. No matter what situation they find themselves in, they can stay mentally stimulated. Whether it's simply enjoying the calming sounds of nature, getting themselves lost in a book, doing odd jobs, or just thinking about life's many mysteries, introverts rarely experience a staleness in their day. All things considered, introverted people have the power and traits necessary to succeed in this extrovert-dominated world, as opposed to popular misconceptions and biases. Undoubtedly, the same can be said with extroverted individuals. So, how are they different from each other aside from the typical outgoing versus quiet comparison? Watch this video to know more.